So my talk today is on traditional e-learning is dead, what is the future? Now, of course, this is our view of the world, and our view of the world is that we kind of wage war on dull online learning. So maybe a bit radical, but anyway, that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So we believe that the traditional method of online learning is it's really not very good. We believe that it's built on a false premise, and it must be destroyed with a bland blaster if necessary. So it assumes that learning is a one-off event. Okay, so I'm sure you're all familiar with this. You build yourself a really spanky piece of swarmy learning for compliance training. You send it out via your LMS, and everybody in your organization fills it out, and you're like, oh, that's good. The job's done, right? So it's a one-off event. The problem with that is that, as we all know, in reality, right, just because you read something once doesn't mean to say you know it, right? So this idea that you can send out a piece of e-learning and it changes behavior is just simply false. We believe that learning is a journey. It is not a destination, okay? So what is the goal of e-learning? Any hands up? Anyone want to have a go? I've already said it, actually, so you don't have to try too hard. It is, of course, to change behavior. So whether we are sending out a learning campaign which is about compliance, whether it's about information security, whether it's about sales, it doesn't matter that people know it, right? Because they're going to forget it in the first 2 days. What matters is, has it changed behavior? Okay, that's what matters. And a one-off moment in time with a 30-minute piece of school e-learning is not going to make that happen. So, information dumps are easy. All you instructional designers out there, you might be saying, oh, well, it's not that easy to do my job, and I do get it. It's difficult to write a 30-minute piece of e-learning, right? But relatively speaking, thinking that you've solved the problem with a 30 or half an hour piece of e-learning is relatively, it's a straightforward thing. But actually, sending it out doesn't mean to say it's going to have any impact on the organization itself, okay? And we know that not only because it's kind of common sense and we can see it makes no impact on the organization. We also know this from a qualitative point of view. So there was a survey done by a company called SAI Global, who are one of the biggest compliance companies in the world. And what they found is that 97% of all compliance training that's sent out had little or no impact on behavior whatsoever, okay? So this is not just common sense, it's also the quantitative fact on the ground. Because let's face it, right? Changing behavior is hard. Like, it's super, super hard. We all know that. How many of you have tried to go on a diet in January, right? It's really difficult to stay away from the cakes. It's really difficult to go to the gym. Changing your behavior is really hard. Reading a book on diets is not necessarily going to make you a stone slimmer. So changing behavior is really, really hard. It's a process. We need to go through knowledge, comprehension, we need to apply it, we need to analyze it, we need to evaluate it, and we need to then create that knowledge and embed it in our own way in and around our situation. So behavior change is hard, right? It's really hard. So, but the reality is that if you don't get that behavior change, then you haven't really been successful in the original goal of the training. Not only that, okay, but there's also another crucial element, which is these training campaigns, they need to be fun. And why do they need to be fun? Well, they need to be fun because we gravitate to what we like doing, okay? So you are more likely to go to the gym if there's something you really like in the gym, yeah? You're more likely to go on a diet if you really like the food. So it's really important that when we're sending out these campaigns, these learning campaigns, that they're fun. Because if they're fun, the individuals will gravitate towards them. So what we think is that education needs to be flipped on its head. And people need to view education more like entertainment. You've got to make them want to do it, not that they have to do it. We want them to gravitate towards these learning campaigns. We want them to talk about it. We want them to, when they're by the water cooler, say, oh, did you see what, the latest learning campaign? Did you see this? Did you see that? We want to make it easier for ourselves. So one of the really easy ways of doing this is to make it game-based, okay? So game-based is a really great way of sending out campaigns, not only because it's fun, but also people tend to remember it more. So the fact on the ground is, A, they like it, but B, it allows them to remember more because they're happy when they consume the content, and if they're happy, they're more likely to remember the content. The other thing is that we're now, for the first time this year, we're now in a situation where people are viewing the web more on their mobile devices than they are actually using desktops. So fundamentally, we keep talking about this idea that content needs to be delivered on mobiles, but we're just not doing it. The majority of e-learning out there is still web-based training, traditional kind of SCORM units. And the reason is that at the moment, we own 7.7 connected devices. So we really are moving online, and L&D and these campaigns need to move with it. In September, mobile usage overtook the web. So unless you're moving towards 50% of your content being delivered mobile first, then you're kind of behind the times. The other really important fact is that it needs to be delivered in bite-sized chunks, because that's how we learn. So when you embark on a piece of e-learning and you send it out and it's half an hour worth of really exciting click-through PowerPoint, how long do you think people are actually going to engage with that content? Well, here's the staggering facts. Microlearning is more efficient because the reality is that our attention span only lasts for 8 seconds. So if we're sending out pieces of content which are 20 minutes long, how much do you think your learners are actually going to be retaining? And what's even more interesting is that goldfish have an attention span of 9 seconds. So the YouTube generation, of which we're all part of, however old we are, because we all really use YouTube, the reality is that the average YouTube video is about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. So if it works for YouTube, it should be working for us instructional designers as well. Attention spans are going down. So your content needs to be short, sharp, exciting, and more like entertainment. So by deploying this kind of strategy, not only is it quicker and easy for instructional designers, it also should be cheaper to make. The other thing that it needs to happen is that it needs to offer social. And the reason it needs to offer social is because this is the only way that the content is reinforced. Going back to the point I made earlier, learning is a journey, it's not a destination. If we're not talking about the learning that we've done, then we are not embedding the learning we've done. And if we're not embedding the learning we've done, then we're not changing behavior. So there needs to be learning events post the actual delivery of learning that engages with the learner and allows that behavior change to actually be facilitated. Social is the bridge between learning and behavior. Without social, there is no behavior change. So how are you as an instructional designers going to kick off that conversation? How are you going to make that learning embed across the organization? So in summary, what we believe is it needs to be fun, it needs to be mobile, it needs to be bite-sized. We also believe it needs to be campaign-driven. And what I mean by campaign-driven is people remember the Nescafe adverts. People remember things that are outside the actual learning itself. If you say to your audience, right, we're going to send out a piece of compliance training, the engagement level with that message is going to be how low? Lucky if it's single digits, people. If we say we're going on a journey to basically discover, the evil empire of whatever it might be, that is campaign driven and that is more exciting. So we need to flip it on its head and focus on the message and the campaign outside the actual learning itself. And finally, last but not least, it needs to be social. So we believe if we ruled the world, which we don't quite yet, but you never know, with my blind blaster I might get there, we believe that it would look kind of like this. You start off and you launch a campaign and it's game-based. So inside any of these nodes, these events, is the actual content itself, okay? So we could be learning about compliance training, sales training, product training, U-bends, whatever. But actually, we're taking our learners on a voyage of racing. We're taking them on a space quest. We're showing them how they can climb up a mountain. So we're engaging them with a game, and it's on their mobile phone. So if somebody said to you, guys, we're just about to launch this new mobile app, it's a game, it's going to teach you how to find nefarious evil activity in the realm of cyber security, and it's all going to be based on space, you'd be like, damn it, give me the web address, let me download that app, because I want to get involved. So this is the first stage. Second stage is, so we're going to send you on a learning campaign. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get you to battle it out. So the second part of this, I'm sending you the information, okay? So I'm educating you. Then what I'm doing is I'm saying, right, I'm going to test your knowledge. But I'm not going to test your knowledge from an admin to learner point of view. It's not going to be viewed like that. No, no, no. I'm going to battle Harry. I'm going to battle Ben. So I'm going to challenge my peers to a battle on information cybersecurity, and I'm going to do that via my mobile app. So how does that make me feel? I'm so much more interested, okay, in beating Harry in that game than I am the head of whatever security awareness knowing that I've got 100% in a test, okay? So we're socializing that knowledge battle. That's the second stage. The third stage is the social challenge. So again, going back to this idea, how do we embed that behavior change and keep coming back again and again and again? What we do is we send out challenges. We said, look, we've got a situation where something's happening in the organization. How would you respond to it? And everybody gets on their mobile apps. There's an alert that goes out, and they start uploading videos. They start staking videos. They start tapping in, explaining how they would overcome this challenge. And by doing that, what we do is we reinforce and then get them to relive that good behavior. And again, that's ranked and rated by their peers. So a fundamentally different way of getting people to learn, and hopefully a bit more targeted towards the way we actually do learn nowadays. So we believe that those are the type of learning campaigns that should happen in the future. And if you would like to learn a bit more, please come and talk to my superhero team over at Stand L5.